Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, we are so excited to be here. We're just going to dive right in because this is so incredibly powerful. We are talking about you getting to command your wealth that is there for you. Maybe you don't see it in your experience yet. Maybe it's not in your circumstances, but it's still yours. And you get to declare it, command it, and be in charge of it. And not in a controlling way, but in control way, because it belongs to you. So yeah, Alex, you were just talking to me about somebody who was inspiring you with spending 10 minutes a day with your wealth, which, we talk about all the time. It is one of the principles of wealth, universal wealth laws called Pearson's Law. What you measure grows, what you measure and report grows exponentially. But you were getting inspiration about different ways that you could spend that time. And then also you were noticing the resistance that was coming up around it. I'd love you to talk about it.
Well, I think, as before we start recording, I was sharing, I feel like just a lot of conversations with people, there's a resistance around spending time and being intimate with your finances and with your money, right? And I think, when I think about it, I mean, this is not all of this, what you're saying is not new, right? I know as long as I've known you, it's been something you've leaned into and spoke about. But I remember me being resistant to it, resistant to okay, I hear you, Carol. I know you want me to be intimate with my money. Well, one, of course, what does this even look like? And two, it was uncomfortable, right? And that's my brain, right? Signaling that there's something going on there. But when I finally leaned into what I've heard you say, I want to say 10,000 times, it really made a massive difference. And when you can spend even if it's 5 minutes a day, right? And I think a lot of the question that the brain goes to well, what does that look like? How do we do that, right? But going back to what you're saying about the commanding piece, you and I have been talking a lot offline about what this looks like, the breakthroughs your clients are getting, and even for you had that perspective shift on when we're talking about commanding, it's not controlling, it's about being in control, but yet how so much around society kind of creates this contradictory, which again wires in our brain, and so it's not natural for us to think like that. So I love to unpack a bit. One, of course, what this commanding piece looks like, but two, right, for you leader, when you're hearing us talk about the importance of really being intimate with your finances and your wealth, what that really looks like and how it's freeing and empowering. And yes, I guess I immediately agree, or I want to immediately say that, the fact that it took me probably 2 to 3 years to do it, I definitely wish I did it sooner, because I really believe financially, my results probably would have been exponential had I just leaned in. But yet the resistance was so strong. And that's what our brain does, right? It creates this resistance, and then our body is as well. And it creates an avoidance when that's why we're here, the podcast, invite and lean into the resistance, move through the resistance and acknowledge the resistance too, and get curious, right?
Yeah, it's so important. You brought up so many important things there. We do want to acknowledge what's coming up, those limiting thoughts, those stories, because that's when we're bringing it out of the subconscious into the conscious mind, where we can actively neutralize and erase it. When it's back there in the subconscious, it's driving our decisions up to 95% or more daily, but we don't know it. We're not aware of it. And so all we find is that, hey, I'm stuck. I'm not I've had this success with wealth, but I'm not leaning into it. And we lose our way, right? We really lose our
Hmm.
way and begin to think, I'm not successful with wealth. And we don't see where we have been. We don't find the evidence anymore. And the celebration of what we're doing is such an important piece because I literally said to my clients this week, we want to make what we're growing into, what we're bringing to us, more rewarding than being in the comfort zone. Because our brains are, they're wired for reward, and we will just slip back in that resistance, get cozy and comfortable and soft and be like, I am not going anywhere. I'm not making any more changes. I'm done, right? It's when the give up really hits us and or we just
Hmm.
have this general unease. We feel so uncomfortable and it's all about what's happening around us. Our systems are doing their jobs. And it truly is about mind, body, spirit, because the brain with our thoughts is in the mind, it originates there. Subconscious goes throughout the body. We have a gut brain and a heart brain, our a lot of our neurotransmitters that are firing to
Hmm.
keep us safe are actually in our guts. And then the spirit, we are energetic beings, and it's creating an energy that is either low vibe or high vibe, right? And so just touching again on some of the things we talk about, going deeper on this, I had such a huge aha going deeper for myself about thinking that, okay, the wealth I have is growing, blah, 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 blah. Am I really at where I want to be? And it is about being, right? It will touch on that as well. Not to throw too much at you all at once, but the thing that's important is I was allowing in my lack decisions, in my stuckness and resistance, in my scarcity that was coming up unawares, and that I was making decisions from, I was allowing the finances to be in charge, right? And
Hmm.
I was not commanding them. And your finances it's a tool, it's an energy, it's your servant. And I wasn't thinking that way. So I love bringing in that perspective that, we can make declarations. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if you're anywhere in the world, you may have a practice, no matter what your spiritual practice is, of saying, thank you for this food, bless this food. Those are commands. Those are commands over your food. And, you order in a restaurant, you expect that it's going to be arriving at some point. You're not getting up under normal circumstances. I hope you haven't been in this situation where you're running back to the kitchen going, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Did you put the spice I want on it yet? No, you've taken a chance from the menu, you've made an order, and you know it's going to happen. You've made a command, a declaration of, I want this. So that's what I'm really excited to talk about. Stay with us all the way to the end because we're going to give you something that you'll really enjoy repeating to yourself in line with this.
What I love when you're giving an example, one, I love this example because I think it really creates like this realness to situations that we're already in, where we're already commanding something, right?
Yeah.
And again, not in that negative way, but like just kind of making a statement. You've made your order, you've made your request, and you sit there, you're waiting, and it comes to you, right?
Yeah.
There's a surrender piece, there's a trust piece that happens in that situation, right? Because again, you've waiters come up to you, you've asked for your order, they
Yeah.
leave the table, you have conversations. You're not overthinking, like, oh my goodness, did they get the order right? Da, 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 right? But yet, with money, we get into that psychological assessment, right?
Yes, we do.
And I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
and so, and okay, maybe you're listening, like maybe that has happened at a restaurant once or twice. And maybe if you had a bad experience, that might
Yeah.
happen. But generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
We order our food without even thinking, right? We've gone through the menu, we've become intimate with what's on the
Yeah.
menu, we're going with what we feel like, you know, what's the mood, you make the order, and you're not sitting there for the next 20, 30 minutes overthinking the whole process.
Right.
You enjoy the company, and then it arrives and you're grateful, you thank the waiter, you're in that place of gratitude and you enjoy, right? And it's just like this, there's a freedom in that. And so what I love, and I think this is kind of one of the biggest messages we want to land with you today, is that you get to enjoy this process, right? You
Right.
get to command, you can make the ask for what it is that you want. And then there is that surrender and trust that it's coming, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, you never know how long it's going to take for the food to come. Sometimes you might ask, but you
Yeah.
don't know. It could be, right? Depends on how busy the restaurant's going to be. Sometimes
Yeah.
meals can come really, really quickly. And sometimes it takes a while, right? If you're going on a Saturday night and it's a full house, it might take a little bit longer, but you're still in that place of trust and surrender.
Mhm.
So what's coming to me is like, how do we start in our days when we look at our wealth, when we look at our
Yeah.
finance and our money, to start being in that same vibration as you're saying, Carol, right? Regarding that. And I think that's why this is such a powerful topic that we're leaning into, because honestly, right, if you just thought about how, and it's even like just even your own day to day to go around and look at, okay, where are places in my life that I am like in control, in command, where I make requests and I get the result. And where am I still hiding, playing small? Where am I letting the subconscious like be that be in charge, right? Because that's what you're talking a lot about here, right? Carol, really talking
Yeah.
about, instead of allowing your money to like be the one that's in charge, we're taking back control and being in charge of it. And
Yeah.
by being intimate with what the numbers are and results, pardon me, that's what influences, right? So
Right.
influences your decisions, right? And the decisions you make impact the actions you take, the result you generate coming from your right? Being led by the subconscious, your belief system, your identity,
Yes.
right? Which you have the power to shift that and
Yeah.
operate from a different place when you're making these type of decisions.
Yeah, so beautiful what you've said, and it's true because, it does always go back to being. It goes back to identity, and what we've talked before about letting our actions flow out of that. Some of the things that have influenced me where I was when um, was, all the stories I've got to be doing this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Action is important. Doing is important. This is where our gifts, our voice, our service, our love, flows into the world. And that's such an important piece. But it comes from who we are. And, I was in that backward cycle of needing approval based on what I was doing
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
external value piece. And so I think it's important that we touch on that because what I discovered was that I was letting money and money decisions control every single part of my life. Everything. My timing on my calendar, my
Mm-hmm.
action steps I was taking, my decisions, my relationship with my children and with my family members, my relationships with my friends and my colleagues, because everything in my mind was cycling around how do I produce more? Well, there
Mm-hmm.
are universal wealth laws that we can follow that will cause you to produce more. When you start from that place of being, that's when the doing flows. That's when the action
Yeah.
steps flow. And it was just a huge aha to go, wow, how often am I allowing money to be my master?
Mm.
It was controlling everything
Yeah.
because I was allowing it to.
So like I'm always, because I know you and I chatted, a little offline, but now, for the leaders listening today, like how did you shift it? Because obviously, right, we're talking about being intimate with the numbers on the paper, being intimate with that piece. But when we look at our identity and the being piece, how did you shift it from allowing the money to be the commander versus you being in commander? Like,
Yeah.
how did that shift in the decisions and the action, of course, to create a result? Like, I mean, of course, the awareness piece is huge. Like, first of all, that's like, that's what, and that's why we're here today. We want to help you be aware, right, of this, if this is you, and having this like conscious awareness, like, oh my goodness, this is what's happening to me, and then empowering you to be able to make that shift, which is again how we show up, right? So
Yeah.
I'm really curious for you, Carol, like from that moment, what shifted for you? And because I know even in your clients' results, they have seen massive growth in their wealth since you've
Yeah.
talked into this and coached them into this too. So yeah, just to, well, I guess it's reiterating for me, but also leaning in for a listener here, like how
Yeah.
did you, yeah, what did it look like from money being the driver to you now being the driver and in
Yeah.
charge?
Um, some of it went back to the principles of wealth. First principle of wealth being your relationship with money is a reflection of your relationship with
Mm,
yourself. And one of those
mm-hmm,
fears that can come up that can get in our way is I'm going to become greedy. I'm going to become power hungry.
mm,
I'm going to use wealth in a negative way. And then not realizing number two on the principles of wealth, money magnifies who you already are. So it's
mm-hmm,
not about the money. It's not about where you are on the financial scale, because I have seen greedy, power hungry people on all parts of the financial spectrum, from the most poor to the most wealthy. And a lot of the work that I do is about taking people out of being wealthy and miserable. Because it doesn't,
mm,
let's say you win the lottery, but you're not prepared for it in any way, then
yeah.
you and I know what happens. We've seen what happens. Either you're very unhappy, or you're losing it. And if you talk to a lot of people that are at the top of the wealth scale, you will find out there are a lot of unhappy people. So, how do we step into being fulfilled? One of the ways is we take back the control that is meant for us. We are abundant beings. I saw you debug it. We are abundant beings, and we are meant to be abundant. We are designed for that. We are designed for reward. We are designed to live a full life. And so many of the stories that we've been told are opposite. So, really taking the steps to recognize where I was allowing money, finances, wealth, funds, any way you want to put it, to make my decisions for me, or I was giving over that control. I have to do it this way. That's too risky. I can't do that. That might not uh multiply like I want it to. Oh, I've got a cash flow shortage. I've got a liquidity shortage. What am I going to do? Getting back into the fear, the doubt, I'm going to lose it. Got it. I'm going to lose it. How do I keep from losing it? Right. And when I started to take a look at those limiting beliefs, that's when I saw it
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And I had seen it before. I've done the work and I continue to walk the walk that I teach. However, it was just a new way of looking at it. Oh, okay. Um, what is that really truly what's important to me? Is that really meaningful to me? Do I care about that? Is this going to help me with freeing women, taking a stand for women and their wealth? Is this going to help me to, provide for the people I'm responsible for providing for? And Is this going to be in alignment with the legacy I want to leave? She was miserable. She was working all the time. And, oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I've got to pay this bill, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that can very easily become our story,
hmm
even when we're
Well,
doing.
and you said something, even as you're talking, this is what came to me, and I heard you sort of say it about the alignment of like what's important,
Yeah,
right? I feel like sometimes a lot of what we maybe desire or put out there is influenced externally from us.
yeah,
And going back to like the experiences and like again what is really important, right? Like
yeah,
I feel that a lot of times just having conversations with my own clients, right? It's like wealth equals freedom. And it's like until I have the wealth, I'm not going to have the freedom. So it's like when you get really
mhm,
clear with what the freedom looks like, right? How are you feeling? What does it look? What does it actually look like? Help you
yeah,
get clarity on is that really going to be the thing that's going to help get the freedom? Because when we operate from that belief, right? I need to do more to make more to create this. And I was thinking about this, just like even with relationships with people, right? A lot of times people want really close relationships.
mhm,
Well, it doesn't really actually cost a lot to have really close, meaningful relationships. When you challenge yourself to spend time with people, and just connect with people, you can do that at a park,
yeah,
right? You can do that walking the beach. You can do that on a hike. Like again, I just feel like there's so much like a lot of this like societal pressure of what it needs to look
yeah.
like. Whereas you can
Baggage.
create a lot of,
Yeah.
yeah, experiences without that. But it
Mm,
comes back to uh that, yeah, like being really, really clear on your vision. And we did an episode a few weeks ago about creating your wealth vision. Right. And because this is important to really, I guess it's a matter of asking yourself, like, is it really the money that you need that's going to help you create the vision that you want? Or is there another way that you can create that? Or is it just this perception that we have that the money is what's going to help you create this, right? Because then we go after the money because we believe once I get more
yeah,
money and I get more wealth, I can create this. But
yeah,
it's really, I think it's just a matter of having that self reflection of like, what are you really looking for? What are you really searching for? Like,
mm,
what's the thing that you believe that the wealth is going to create? And
yeah,
and just getting important, like getting connected for you, what that looks like and what's important to you. And I've had a lot of reflection on that, especially being here in Panama, just around that, and just getting really connected with like what's
yeah,
really, really important. And how do you, um, like, there's so many ways, like, a situation happened. It was my friend's birthday. And I was thinking, like, how do I, right? Like, I feel like the automatic is like, I gotta go buy a birthday present. And so I really like connected with how do I get to acknowledge my friend and celebrate her without having, because I don't have a mall just down the street, right? Like, and
yeah,
so I will say, like myself, I've been stretched in these different ways to think differently, right?
mm,
Because it's the thinking process.
mm,
It's and it really goes back to sometimes situational of like, okay, like what's around us, but also based on decisions. And so even going back to how we manage the money or manage the finances, it goes back to like an education and also the belief process. Like my belief for so long, and I've shared this on past episodes, was like that I was irresponsible with money. Like I wasn't responsible. So I
yeah,
just kept creating that instead of actually being responsible. I
yeah,
kept just recreating the same story over and over again. Hence the resisting what Carol had been reiterating for 3 years. And then finally, right? Because I did the belief work, the identity work of working through that. And this is a big thing that Carol's driving home about, like these subconscious beliefs.
mm,
It's why it plays such a big role when it comes to finances and wealth, because it is so subconscious that we're just not really aware of what's really going on until we can get really quiet, I think, and curious about this. And so
yeah,
I love just the invitation of even, because even when Carol was like, well, Alex, you get to be in command of your money. And I was like, whoa. And I felt it, right? I felt that
Yeah.
resistance. And you're
Yeah.
probably feeling that resistance too as you're listening to this. As we're saying, you get to be like be the driver, like get be the commander.
What and
Because
what does
it's
that word command mean to you? To some people, it may
yeah.
be, you know, something that has a negative connotation. We actually talked about that in our group, in the group with my clients, about the difference between using words like declaring and commanding,
Mm,
because command created more resistance. And so
mm,
it's, are
mm,
you framing the word command to see it as you're commanding money and an energy source? You're not commanding other people. It's
mm,
not about that,
mm,
because all of this resistance will come up, and you hit on something so key. It's what we always go back to and always will, and it's our identity. Do we believe
mm,
that we are worth it, that we deserve it? And one of the other keys that I feel like you really hit upon is when we're making a declaration where we are looking at money rather than it being our servant, it's serving us. So looking through the lens of it serving us, just like sitting in that restaurant, making the order, making the declaration to the waitress. And if you're commanding, I would say, you wouldn't be, no, I'm not talking about commanding your wait staff to go and get your order. That's not what this means. It means it's a command in that it's a statement. It's already done.
yeah, it's a request. That's what I'm, like we're
Yeah.
requesting, we're making
Yeah.
requests. But even when I say request, it still seems like weak. Like you're I guess you're making a statement, as you said, right? Like
Yeah.
really making the statement and yes, the request of like this is the thing,
How's it serving you? How's it, so, ask yourself that. How's it serving me? Is it serving me, or am I serving it? Am I running my whole world around being in lack, chasing after money, even when I have money? And one of the keys is that statement, it is done. It's starting to see it as the trust and surrender process, the meal's coming. I'm trusting the process. Put the order in, now it's arriving. So seeing it as done and knowing that what is meant for you is already there for you. So rather than having to go out and get it, which is the message we get all the time, it's part of the hustle culture. It's part of the, burnout that we get into, is knowing that it can flow to us. And it already is flowing to us when we're meant for that. Again, it's a loose analogy, but just like the restaurant, I love going back to that. And
Yeah. Well, you
um,
sit there at the restaurant and they bring the food to you, right? You're
yeah,
you're in one spot, you make your order, and it comes to you. Like you're
yeah,
not doing anything. You've done the thing. You've made the request. You've put in your order. They bring it to you, and so it's just. I think it's just looking at those situations of like it's not about doing another thing. A lot of times it's like you just get to. Well, if you're going to do anything, it's about doing the inner work of looking at like where am I resistant,
yeah,
what's out of line, how am I showing up, what are my beliefs,
yeah,
and I think one of the number one things, if this is something that you're not doing already, is getting intimate with your numbers, with your wealth daily. As we started off saying, like really spending 10 minutes a day, right? 10 minutes a day or less, right? Carol, you always say that.
yeah.
So, because of course, going back to brain of what that looks like, as we're wrapping up, what are some ways, or even for you, Carol, what does that look like for you to spend 10 minutes a day to be intimate with your wealth?
One of the things that can happen if you're not in the work and doing the work is you can go to apply Pearson's Law, which is one of the universal wealth laws of taking a daily look or taking a look. It doesn't specify daily, We've done other episodes about Pearson's Law, but the thing is that you may be sitting down to look at your finances with anxiety. You may be experiencing
Mm.
tension. It's not fun. You're not going to go do it, right? It's not like putting that, when you put the order in at the restaurant, the food that's coming is likely going to be very tasty and delicious. It's something you're looking forward to. And we lose sight of that along the way. We lose sight of looking forward to what's landing, in our accounts, what we're using to impact the world for good. And we get anxious in the mechanics, right? And in the doing. And so we have to uncover
Hmm.
what's going on. And a lot of times, again, this is where it goes back to identity. And we've done a lot there, so I won't spend any more time on that. But I do want to say there is something as we're wrapping up that I would love to leave you with. It's a little prayer mantra um, that you can say to yourself. And all I want you to do is close your eyes and put your hands on your heart and say to yourself, divine supply flows to me now in perfect ways. I am open. I am ready. I am grateful. I am safe. It is done. And you can start to wire this in and start to make it a part of your belief practice. And I recommend, you considering that you are an abundant being. And just like that restaurant meal, it's already there, it's already waiting for you. It's not something you have to chase. And are there actions that you can take? Yes, but that will flow. And we get this idea that, we have to do things in order to be who we need to be. So it's really about learning to have money, finances well serve you. And, to be something that you get to bring to you. Divine supply flows to me now in perfect ways. I am open. I am ready. I am grateful. I am safe. It is done. Right. And those are things that we can put to use for us to help us to have the proper perspective, to be a quick trigger to get us out of scarcity mode, out of allowing us to be mastered where we are not meant to be mastered. So,
Well, and I love that being able to like be that thought interrupter right at any moment of time where you're feeling right, like out of abundance, that you've got that mantra, prayer, whatever you know how you want to call it, to guide you
yeah,
in your day.
yeah. And I do want to give credit. That came from it. It's not directly from, but it's inspiration from a metaphysics teacher back in the 20th century. Just reach out to me and I'd be happy to share that with you. Um, it's interesting, the beginning of the 20th century, so many metaphysics teachers were coming out of the woodwork. We've got The Science of Getting Rich from
Mm.
Wallace T. Waddle. We've got The Game by Florence Scovel Shinn. We've got, even coming up a little farther through the 20th century, the work that got published with Napoleon Hill. So there was a lot of work then coming out about how powerful we are in creating the reality that we want to create. And we know there's scientific evidence for it. We see it happen all the time, don't we, Alex? So we're so excited to share it with you. And we'll see you next week. All right. Have a great, amazing week as you start to put money to work for you. All right. Ciao for now.
Woo.
Woo.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.